I'm Christine Persichetti. The war between Israel and Hamas is escalating. Israel is pummeling Gaza with airstrikes, despite Hamas threats to execute hostages in retaliation. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this is just the beginning of the terror in the Holy Land. Israel pounding Gaza with airstrikes, hitting hundreds of targets in an area the Israel Defense Forces say serves as a hub for the Hamas terrorist organization.
Allahu Akbar.
It's in retaliation for the surprise attacks from Hamas over the weekend. One of the first targets of the Palestinian gunmen, the Nova Music Festival on the Israel-Gaza border. This is the aftermath.
I lied under the tank because they surrounded us from every direction, because they saw the people on the tank, and the more of us there were, it was getting worse, because a large group, they could just shoot at us.
This festival goer was shot. Hundreds of others were murdered. Some survivors are among more than 100 hostages that the group claims to be holding in Gaza. This American is hopeful his mother, a U.S. citizen, is one of them.
And it is our hope, which is a little bit ridiculous at this stage to say that the optimistic scenario here is that she's held hostage in Gaza and not dead on the street of the kibbutz where we grew up.
Tanks are on the move in southern Israel. There have been Hamas missile attacks on several cities, including the capital, Tel Aviv. The sound of warning sirens can be heard there and in the holy city of Jerusalem, filling residents with fear.
I am living this with concern and uncertainty because we do not know what is going to happen or how the situation is going to evolve. The atmosphere is very tense. We can see that this situation is getting more and more complicated.
President Joe Biden confirmed on Tuesday that at least 14 Americans are among the dead, and he again reiterated that the U.S. stands with Israel. There have been questions about whether or not Iran helped plan the attack. On Tuesday, the country's leader denied any involvement, but said he supports it. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said this: "We kiss the hands of those who planned the attack on the Zionist regime." That comment doesn't come as a surprise. The region has always been turbulent, and for decades, the Vatican has tried to negotiate peace. Pope Pius XII tried to get a legal safeguard for the status of the Holy Land. After the war began in 1948, the Pope published 3 documents asking for peace and aid for refugees. In 1964, Pope Paul VI was the first pope to visit the Holy Land, and he advocated for Palestinians during the pilgrimage. Pope John Paul II spoke with the president of Palestine. A few years later, an agreement was reached between the Vatican and the Palestinian National Authority. Next, Pope Benedict XVI organized a synod in the Holy Land focused on stopping the use of the Word of God to justify terrorism. Pope Francis also held a historic meeting with both leaders in 2014 to pray for peace. If you want to help the innocent victims on both sides of the violence, you can donate to the International Red Cross at icrc.org and click Donate Now. Now to an update on the Diocese of Brooklyn's Eucharistic revival. While the celebration may have been postponed, plenty of parishioners are still getting into the spirit of this campaign. Here to talk more about that is the Vicar for Evangelization and Catechesis, Father Joseph Gibino. Hi, Father Gibino. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Always good to be seen here.
So I'm sure you and the nearly 7,000 people that were planning to go to Maimonides Park this past Saturday were disappointed that it did not happen. Tell us why the event was postponed. I'm assuming it has something to do with the rain and fears of it keeping people away.
Absolutely. It was really a concern about safety. Yeah. Given the weather we've been having with flooding and Bell Parkway flooding, we were just very concerned about people getting there and getting home, and then in the stadium, if it's wet, slipping, falling. So we just, with great disappointment, decided to postpone the event until the spring.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry. The good news is, as you said, it will be postponed. It's going to happen in the spring. Yep. You don't have the date yet, but what can you tell us, if anything, about this next event?
Well, we're hoping it will be bigger and better. We're looking at 3 venues, so there'll be quite a bit of diversity. Looking at the venue, it is partially where it is, if there's parking, how many people can get there. So we're hoping for at least 7,000, but we think we might be able to get 10,000 or more at the event. So
exciting. And indoors, we're thinking. Indoors, so we don't have this all over again. Okay, the Diocese of Brooklyn has really been getting into the spirit of this revival. I want to show you a little video here. These are the parishioners of St. Leo's Church in Corona, Queens, who decided after the diocese's revival was postponed to hold their own revival on Sunday. And we're told a few other parishes around Brooklyn and Queens did the same. So what kind of response have you seen about this campaign?
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
The people of God have really responded. And the purpose of the revival was to help people go back to our roots of true belief in the body and blood of Christ. And certainly the response that we had to the Maimonides event revealed that there are many Catholics who truly do believe in the real presence. And it reaffirmed what we learned in the Synod, that adult Catholics want much more faith formation, that they don't feel empowered to explain the doctrines of the Church.
All right, well, it's looking forward to the new event. Father Joseph Jovino, Vicar for Evangelization and Catechesis in the Diocese of Brooklyn, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Despite the rain, one parish in the Diocese of Brooklyn had a sunny reason to celebrate this weekend. Our Lady of Charity Church honored 120 years of spreading the faith in Bedford-Stuyvesant on Sunday. Diocese of Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan celebrated the Mass, which was full of music and dancing. It was a different celebration compared to the parish's first Mass back in 1903, when the church was a converted animal stable. The present church was built in 1914. Congrats to them. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.